What's going on, guys? I've had a lot of questions about um, my signal flow. I did a video on the Novo last week, so I wanted to take a second and just kind of walk through my patch. I'm going to screen record and cut all this together, so hopefully it looks good afterwards. But basically, I run everything through the Line 6 Helix. I know, it's kind of not nearly as much of a taboo subject anymore, thankfully, but it used to be like effects processors were just no good, not the way to go. But I firmly believe that the Line 6 Helix is one of the best on the market, especially with the upcoming Stadium XL and Stadium line as a whole. I just think it's gonna blow pretty much everything out of the water. So, but as of now, I'm just using the Helix floor. It's on the floor behind me, and I'm using a patch that I made several years ago, and I've tweaked off and on throughout the years. But the question I get a lot is, do you use this patch for every guitar? And yes, I do tweak it a little bit depending on the type of guitar you use. But actually, both of the guitars I have right now have the exact same pickups in them. They're slightly different guitars as far as like wood and wiring is concerned, but I use them for every guitar. I also use it for all types of music. I get to play at Live Church in Overland Park, which is pretty great. But the cool thing about that is we do a lot of the contemporary praise and worship stuff, but we also get to do a lot of covers, and so we get to do stuff like Gary Clark Jr. or Paramore or country music, kind of everything. So, and this patch is pretty much able to do anything that I need it to, even if I have to do a little tweak. So let's dive in. This is the patch. If you know anything about the Line 6 ecosystem, think of this as your pedal board if you don't know. So it just starts here at the beginning and goes down to this line, back across over here. So I'll just kind of go through little piece by piece, and then kind of talk about how I use it per song. So first thing is just a simple pitch. I don't use this a whole lot, but it just is a lower octave. I use this if I want to beef up a higher lead line. If we do something a little heavier, I might add this in. But it's just, just simple pitch, pretty straightforward. Next is my main delay. It's the Timmy. If you don't know, Line 6 renames everything for legal reasons, but I use the Timmy. It's pretty low mid-game. My clean sound isn't even super clean, and then I use this on top of everything. I never don't have a drive on. So it just adds a little bit of sparkle, just a little bit more grit. Next is the Heir Apparent, or the Prince of, or King of Tone, Prince of Tone type of thing. They do have the full King of Tone in here, but I just use the Heir Apparent. It's much less DSP heavy, and it basically does the same thing, especially with the snapshot control. You're able to jump between different types of sound. So this is my second stage drive, something a little heavier. I do kind of tweak between like around 4.5 and 5.0 as far as the gain is concerned, so just a little bit heavier. I typically keep the clipping on overdrive. I do jump to distortion if I need it to be a little heavier. Gain mod, I always keep it on the higher mod. I like to have that headroom. Next in line is the Dynadrive. I only use this for my lead sound. This is supposed to be a Zen drive. Just has a really great presence. It cuts really well, and it also just has this really chewy sound. The thing I cannot stand is too much high end. I know as a guitar player, especially as a lead guitar player, I need some high end, but if it gets too shrill and brittle, it can just be gross. And so the Dynadrive is just a really great sound, but I only use that for my lead tone, so like any big giant solos. I'll get into different tones later, but that's next. Then lastly, as far as drives are concerned, is the Minotaur or the Klon. This is just your typical boost, and that's pretty much how I use it. Leave the gain pretty low, the level pretty high. I do boost the tone up a little bit just to give a little bit more mid-range punch as they say, and this is used in conjunction with my lead tones. I have a boost setting on the Helix that we'll get into in a second, and then pretty much anytime I just need a little bit extra, I can click this on. Next is just a volume pedal, pretty straightforward. Amps, so I use 2 amps and I use them in parallel. So if you can see here, it splits off and splits them off into parallel, so I can kind of pan them left and right a little bit. This only really concerns whenever I'm recording. Whenever I play out live, most of the time I'm just running mono, but as you can see here, it does jump back together, so it just will auto sum to mono if I only send one out, but whenever I'm home recording, I can split that out. So the first is the Line 6 Litigator, which is basically a Dumble type of amp. This is my main amp. If I could only use one amp in the Helix, this would be it. It just has such a wide range of tones. It does the clean Fender thing. It does a pushed brown panel Fender thing super well. I just really love it. Next is the Match Stick. It's just a matchless amp. It's very Vox AC30 type amp. I really love this one. I highly recommend this combo. I think Fender Vox is kind of end all be all as far as dual amp setup, so I'm big time fan of that. Next up, we have my IR. This IR is a Tone Junkies IR. I believe it's been a long time since I put this IR in. I honestly have several in here, but I just never change it because it just sounds good. I do have it panned. It's a dual stage IR. This first one is a 57. The next one, the first one is a 57 and an SM7B. The second one is a 57 and a Royer R121. Just really great combo. The 57 always cuts through, and then you have the SM7B and the R121 to kind of give you that low end. And they are kind of mixed, panned left and right a little bit. And then I just kind of keep the delay at minimum and the mix at 100%. So that's my IR. Again, it's been so long since I remember, but I'm pretty sure they're Tone Junkies IRs, and they're just so great. And I use those for pretty much everything. Next is a chorus. It's the Plasti chorus, which is based on, I'm pretty sure it's a DoD chorus, if I remember correctly. It's not the most amazing chorus sound in the Helix, but it's the one I love the most. It's very versatile. It doesn't have crazy character to it, but it also really just does a great job. I use this for really low quiet tones. I will throw it on a lead sound every now and again just to get a little bit more cut, but most of the time it's my tone is rolled back, I'm on the neck pickup, and I'm using this to just kind of add some atmosphere. Then is my delay setup. It's a little unique. My delays are also in parallel, so they're not stacking directly into each other. They are separate, so they're running side by side and not directly interacting with each other. I use a dotted eighth with a vintage digital delay. These are my settings. It's convoluted if you get too deep into these, but that's how I set it. Next is the tape. It's basically your Elephant Man, Memory Man type of delay. It is just a quarter note, super simple. I like to use 2 different delays. I know they have a dual delay within the Helix, but I like having the 2 different sounds, kind of like a more vintage digital, kind of the old Line 6 sounds, super clear, super concise, and then that quarter note is kind of more loose and wobbly. So I do also use the simple delay for any slapback tone. So if I'm doing like a punchy rock song or a country tune, I'll throw this on. I will turn off these 2 delays if I ever use the slapback. It's set pretty high, or pretty low feedback, high speed, so it just gives you that classic slapback tone. I have 4 reverbs, which might be overkill, but I use them for unique individual things. So pretty much these first two, the plate, which is from the Legacy, it's from, been in the line 6 line forever, and then the Dynamic Hall, which came out a few years ago and just one of the best reverb sounds ever, I think. I like these in conjunction. Those are always on. The plate never changes. It is just bare bones plate reverb, one of my favorite sounds ever. Dynamic Hall does change quite a bit. You'll see these white bracketed tabs. Those do change per snapshot. So I use this one pretty much for everything. Next up, I have a Glitz, which is basically your shimmer cloud sound. It has the high octave on top of everything, and it's pretty great. And then I have the Double Tank, which is actually a relatively recent addition. I like having a extra reverb on top of everything, no matter what I'm doing. If I'm playing pretty clean, even these two reverbs are on all the time. The feedback in the mix goes down with the Dynamic Hall, but no matter what, one of these two reverbs is on. You'll see them kind of flip-flop as I go through my snapshots in a minute. But I'm a big fan of the Double Tank. It just has this, it's not overpowering, it's not crazy, it's not super colorful, it just is a good extra reverb. And it kind of goes up and down from the decay in the mix as well, depending on the snapshot. So I use those two kind of in conjunction with each other for different things. And then last, I have just an EQ. I think the thing that really people miss when they get into modelers is EQ. I think, a lot of modelers, if you just use a preset, they can be great. I'm not saying they're not, but if you can dig in and adjust each sound for what you're doing, and EQ is the easiest way to get there. This Cali Q graphic EQ is one of my favorites. It just is pretty versatile as far as choosing specifically what frequency you're pushing or cutting, and you also have a level boost. So this level control is really powerful, and I use it for many different things. It is mainly used for boosting solos, because you can go in and boost your amp signal, you can boost your clon level or whatever, but I like having a EQ boost as well to give me more cut, a little more presence on solos. It's just an overall really awesome resource. If you're not using a EQ, do that. And then finally, I'm just going out. So this is the thing that people ask me the most. The thing I went to the Helix for originally is I'm mainly a church player, but I used to play out at bars and small clubs and stuff years ago before I had a kid. And a lot of people ask, like, how do you keep it consistent? Because every venue's different, every system is different. I don't change pretty much anything in the main patch. It stays as it is. The thing I do change is this output level. I turn this up and down depending on what the needs of the venue is. At my campus in Overland Park, I keep it around 3 dB plus 3 dB. It just seems to work for what we do. But I played at other campuses here in Kansas and Missouri, and definitely in bar gigs where I'm -7, -9 dB. And it just kind of depends, but it's just the easiest way to immediately impact how much signal the board is receiving. Okay, now I just want to go into snapshots. Snapshots are the best thing about Helix, in my opinion. It's a way to immediately change your sounds with a click, and there's no latency, there's no delay. You don't have to change presets. It's just, think of it as like a preset within a preset. You are able to turn off and on any effect that is in your chain with a click of a snapshot. You are able to change any parameter, gain, volume, time, feedback, any parameter on any effect. You're able to change output levels, everything with one snapshot. Within Helix, you're given 8 total snapshots on the Helix floor, at least. There's the Stomp and Stomp XL, and those change things. But on the Helix floor, you're given 8 snapshots, and with those 8 snapshots, I am given 8 individual sounds. So I'll just go down the line, and you'll see each of these blocks kind of change and turn off and on depending on what snapshot I'm on. So first is octo. It's just my octave boost. It's basically a lead sound with a low octave on it. So if I'm up high and I just want something to beef it up a little bit, or if I want to play something super heavy, low, down, I'll do this sound. Next is main. This is, if you're hearing me play sound check and just strumming cowboy chords, especially if I'm singing or leading a song, this is what I'm on. Pretty clean overall, just slight edge of breakup sounds, a little bit of overdrive. It does have the glitz reverb on there, so it has some shimmer on it. I can use this as a swell sound if I want to. It's not as overwhelming as my main swells sound. You gotta have swells if you're in praise and worship. But I'm a big fan of this snapshot, and I use it for pretty much everything. Next is drive. I don't know why I call it drive, because it's the cleanest sound I have. I use this for like an in-between kind of funky R&B type of sound, or I can even put a bridge pickup, and I can get drivey. It's very country. It's not like super heavy at all. This is kind of like if I'm in sound check and they're just like, give me bass tone so I can make sure you're on, this is what I give them. It's as clean and dry as it gets. Slapback delays. It has 2 reverbs on, but they're very low in this setting. Next is lead. Lead is what it is. It sounds like it is my loudest, biggest lead sound. So if I'm going to take a big solo, if I have, pretty much the only time I use it is if it's a big solo. This is the sound I use. It uses that Dyna drive and the Klon mixed together, pushed pretty hard. It does jump up my channel volume in my amps a little bit, but the biggest thing you're going to see is this level on my Cali EQ is 5.1. On my main sound, it drops all the way down to 3.4. So it's almost 2 dBs of immediate volume increase. So that's my lead sound. It's also a lot more dry. So I only have my 2 main reverbs, and that way it's not too messy if I'm doing something faster in the mix there. Swells is, again, what you'd imagine. It does have a my heavier overdrive, but I don't know why, it just works in this setting. I might roll my volume back off a little bit, but I'm typically toned completely off here. It has all 4 reverbs. It has a pretty long tail, but I'm never doing anything more than 1 or 2 notes, big open diamonds on this sound. So I don't use this all the time, but if we're in a spontaneous quiet moment, this is a big time addition. Main Plus is my second most used sound. Basically, it is just my main sound, just plus more. I drop the Timmy and I move over to the Heir Apparent, a little heavier, a little grittier. My reverbs also change. I turn off that glitz and I move over to the double tank. So it's not as sparkly. It's still relatively saturated, but it's not overkill at all. I can clean it up if I pick light and I'm playing light, or I can hit it and put bridge pickup on, and this gets pretty heavy too. It's pretty cool. Between the two, Drive Plus is essentially the same thing, just a little more overdrive and dry. It's very dry. Just my main 2 reverbs turned down here, and then my gain goes up and my gain goes up in my amp. So this is, I want something to cut a little bit more. I'm playing something heavier pretty fast, and it's maybe like the last chorus of a song and we're just really hitting it. Like this is where I'm gonna go. So Drive Plus, again, dry, heavy goodness. And then last is extra. Extra is basically the step before lead. I use this sound a lot. So intros, turnarounds, um, any like minor solos, more like a riff in the middle, like between a chorus and a bridge or something, I'll use the extra sound, because I really only want to use that lead sound if I'm pushing, if like we really need something big at the end there. So you know, that's just the difference there. I'm a really big fan of this sound. I use the Heir Apparent. Um, and it's basically my main plus sound with the Klon and just a little bit of a volume boost. So it, you know, doesn't change character too much. It's just louder, and I really like that. So yeah, that's Snapshots. And that's basically the whole signal flow. I go guitar straight into the Helix. Typically I use 2 XLRs out to front of house at my campus in Overland Park. Here at my house, I go USB straight into my Mac and then straight into the DAW. So I don't have an interface at this time, but I don't really need one. I'll get one eventually, especially if I'm going to keep recording, but that's the signal flow. If you haven't checked out Line 6 stuff, I highly recommend it. I'm not paid by them at all. I hope you didn't expect that, but I'm just a big fan of what they do. Really excited for the Helix Stadium to come out. I'm on the list, so it will be here, and I will be making a new video whenever I get my new patch set up. So really appreciate everybody for following along. This has been a really cool couple weeks. Hoping to stick around and do this a little bit more. So if you have any questions, let me know. I love to make videos like this, and or just chat in the DMs or whatever. But yeah,